So what were you thinking the other night when you got 14 points and you guys had like 14 yards?
Yeah, I don't even know if we had that many yards. I was thinking, I looked at my call sheet and I was like, wow, we only ran 5 plays or whatever it was. It's nice. It's nice to have, obviously a special teams touchdown. That's always special. And then obviously the interception return for a touchdown. What a cool deal that was to have that back to back. So huge momentum for our team, and you could really just feel, the whole stadium just blow up, and it was awesome.
Does that allow you and Matt to, just do maybe some things that you weren't going to do? Does that put you in a more advantageous situation, or you stick with your?
Yeah, you kind of stick with your game plan and see how the game goes, because at that point we hadn't really seen what their game plan against us was. So you kind of got to feel it out, see what they're doing, and then you can make your adjustments. So it was still a little too early before you really can just go, all out.
What's the challenge with that Houston kid? He's got like 8 sacks and 59.
Yeah.
He's like super small.
Mm-hmm.
So how are they using him?
He's got really good get off and really good change of direction. So he does a good job getting up the field and then getting the tackles to flip their hips, and then he can dip underneath. He's very slippery. So when guys go to punch, he does a good job dipping underneath that, and really good motor. A lot of them, just running around the hump, chasing down plays and getting sacks that way. So he's been impressive to watch. Obviously, he wasn't anyone that was on our radar the last time we played him, and now, he's done what he's done so far. So he's an impressive player.
Aaron Rodgers said yesterday, thinking about this past month, somewhere around the fourth quarter in Chicago, down 19-10, something changed. Things started to click. And it started to feel more complimentary, too, particularly when Jair gets that pick. Is that what it feels like for you guys and the staff?
Oh, yeah. And, we've been saying it to the players all year. Stick with it, just trying to keep everyone together, keep everyone believing. Because you could see the potential in what we had, and just things weren't working out for a lot of different reasons. And so when you have a moment like that, a comeback in a special game like the Packers-Bears game, and, defense makes plays, offense makes plays, special teams makes plays. We had a block kick in that game. Just all kinds of things where you're like, okay, we're playing together, and then we were able to keep that momentum going and be where we're at right now. So, yeah, I think that's a huge point in the season, obviously.
What do you think about the state of your passing game now? Obviously Christian had those 6 touchdowns in 3 games, which no one's going to keep that up, but whether it's defense is taking him away or just missing some opportunities, it's kind of been taken away and the passing game's kind of mellowed out some. So I guess what do you think things are here?
I would agree with that. We missed some shots last game. We threw a few bombs and didn't land them. So, anytime you can hit those, that's really going to help the stat sheet as far as the passing game is concerned. The one thing I did like from last game, we did a lot better on third down. We did a good job converting third downs, which we didn't do the week before. And we like the play action game, things like that. Didn't really. We hit a few, but there wasn't any big time gains. So, everything we do in our offense is to try and set up those chunk plays, those explosive passes. We just got to be better there, definitely, this game. We're expecting Detroit to come out swinging in all cylinders, so we got to be ready to go and make some big plays against them.
Stenavich, I try not to be a X's and O's poser, so please tell me if I'm completely clueless on this. But it sure looks like your perimeter run game has kind of come to life. I'm not saying it's got to be outside zone. It's whatever you're running right now. Do you think that's an accurate statement? And if so, what would you attribute it to?
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. So you're not a poser.
At least not on this.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you there. I think we're just trying to generate more explosive plays in the run game that we did in previous years, where we kind of leaned on the passing game for that. we tried to be a little bit more conservative in the run game because we knew, you know, we had some weapons on the edge that, hey, just going to open it up. This year's just, I think, been a little bit different scenario, and I like what we're doing this year from that aspect because it threatens the entire field. Defenses have to cover sideline to sideline, and yeah, so I think we're just getting more of those plays called, and that's kind of why it's opening up and you're seeing what you're seeing.
And do Bobby and Big Dog and Lazard, how do they factor into that? Because you've got, obviously you got good tackles.
Well, I would say not only those guys, but all of our wide receivers are doing a really good job. Josiah, he's one guy that doesn't get talked about enough, just with his ability to run in space and create matchup issues, getting him on corners and stuff like that. But all of our wideouts do a really good job blocking. Coach Vrabel really preaches that and does an awesome job there. But yeah, I think everyone has bought into that and just how important that is to our offense.
When you're putting together a game plan, how much of it is looking at things that other teams have done that have worked against them? Like I saw something where it looked like Carolina used like a sixth offensive lineman multiple times against these guys. How do you take that into account? Because you still have your own guys, you have your own ideas.
Yeah. You can sometimes get in trouble doing stuff like that where you're trying to be something you're not. And, you know, if you're like, oh, we're going to run this scheme this week, but we haven't repped it all year, you know, and expect it to work. It's not something you can do. So you can look at it, and if it fits into what you do, then yeah, you can kind of lean on certain things. But you can kind of get in trouble in the same way. Like, oh, they have trouble with this pass concept. Well, that's because they have a certain receiver that can just, you know, blow the top off or whatever it is. Just you always have to take into account your personnel. And one thing we're lucky, a lot of teams use extra linemen, but we have Mercedes who he blocks just like an extra lineman would, maybe even better in some instances. So that's a big advantage that we have for sure.
And what have you thought of just with AJ, the run? He's kind of been on here the last, I think, 5 games. He's up to 6 touchdowns now. And just how do you think that kind of opens things up a little bit, especially with the goal-to-go stuff?
Yeah, no, he's a big weapon down there. You know, he's able to just get those quads rolling and pound the ball in. And yeah, it's always nice to have Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. They're both very versatile. They can do multiple things, and they're both physical players. You know, you watch Aaron Jones play, and he's one of the most physical guys you're ever going to see for a 185-pound guy or whatever he is. But yeah, AJ's a great weapon because he's a big body, strong, powerful, explosive, that you can get in short yardage and goal line situations. You know he's going to get you 1 or 2 yards in those hard-to-run places.
Steno, Balaga tweeted yesterday, he said he thought Bakhtiari pitched a pretty damn clean game against the Vikings and just how big he is for you guys, having him back. You know, obviously Zach and Yash and the guys you've had in there played well, but just Sunday's game against the Vikings showed that it just goes to a different level with Dave in there.
Yeah, I would definitely say our offensive line is much different with Dave in there. Just from a stability standpoint and pass protection, just holding that side down, him and Elton over there, that's a big luxury that we have when we get those 2 guys in. They're 2 premier players, and, you know, you can kind of, all right, that side's good, and piece together the other side. And just having him out in the field, his leadership, you know, his intelligence, getting everyone on the same page, he does a great job with that. But yeah, it's a big difference for us that not many people probably notice.
Steno, after the game on Sunday, Aaron said that he'd been asked to step up his leadership. And then talking to him at his locker yesterday, I asked him if it was fair to say that he was not chastising guys harshly on the field as much as he was earlier in the season, or if there were fewer mistakes being made that required that. Mm-hmm. And he said it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I would that's what I would say too.
Like how much, for both pieces of that, obviously it's great to not make mental mistakes.
Yeah.
and it's great to not have your quarterback getting after guys. When you look at that dynamic, is that something that you guys needed both parts of that equation
Yeah.
to get better this year?
I think that was part of the growing pains that we talked about as the season was going. You know, you had young guys trying to see the game like Aaron sees it. And, you know, there was a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that we weren't on the same page with. And then also throw in injuries to those guys too, so they weren't on the field getting as many reps as they normally would. So it just kind of slowed our progression down, you know what I mean? But yeah, I would agree with that. That's a very fair statement. And then, you know, just being around people, like you kind of, at first you're like, oh, he's yelling at me, what? But then as you're around him, you're in meetings with him, you hear him talk, you hear him coach, you know, this is what I want or whatever. You see the intent behind it, and then that's where the respect and the love and all that stuff, the bond grows. And we're kind of seeing the results of that right now.